Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name's Colette and the reading that I'm doing today is for the new moon in Virgo that is taking place at 14 degrees of Virgo on the 7th of September. And I apologise if this video comes out late because I'm having real problems uploading my videos at this time. They just seem to be taking forever to get anything to happen. So if it is a little bit late, then I am very sorry for that. But the new moon energy, as with the full moon energy, lasts a full 2 months. So it's from the time of the new moon up to the time of the full moon, and then from the full moon to the new moon. So it's not just one day that energy affects us. So with that being said, this is an intuitive astrology reading that I'm doing today, and I will be reading from the laptop as usual because it's too much for me to kind of give it all out in one go. And the title for this Virgo new moon, and I've chosen this because the song just keeps playing in my head, and if you haven't heard it before I suggest you go and listen to it, but I'm calling it Working Class Heroes. And I hope on some level that as I go through the reading it will become more apparent as to why I've chosen that particular title. But like I said, the song just keeps going over and over in my head. So, and I can't remember who it's by, and I haven't listened to it yet, so I need to go and do that myself just to get it out of my head. So the divine masculine, which is the sun energy, comes together to form a conjunction with the divine feminine, the moon energy, during the time of the new moon. And this new moon is taking place on the 7th of September 2001 at 1:52 hours UK time, so you will need to adjust this for other parts of the world. It is happening in the mutable, changeable earth energy of the 6th house. This new moon is going to be making some incredibly powerful and intense connections at this time, as the sun and moon come together at the 14 degrees 38 minute point of the very exacting and precise sign of Virgo. If you have any planets or points at the 09 to 19 degrees area of your natal chart in Virgo, this is where it will be felt the strongest and most intensely. Also, anyone with anything at the same degrees of the other 3 mutable signs, Sagittarius, Pisces and Gemini, are going to feel it powerfully too. So you may want to check out your own individual natal chart to see where this area is for you, which house this covers for you on a personal level. Especially the 14 degree point of Virgo, where that degree falls for you in your personal house, as that will be where the energy will show itself for you in your life on an individual level. But on a collective level, it's happening in the 6th house energy, where something new is being planted in the Virgoan soil. So the odd and somewhat quirky thing about this new moon in Virgo is it would usually take place after we have a full moon in Pisces. However, because during August we had the 2 full moons in Aquarius instead, it means we are yet to experience the Piscean energy in all its full glory, as this will now be after the new moon in Virgo. And it's kind of pushed all the other moons around as well, so it's quite interesting what has happened because we've had those 2 full moons in Aquarius. And very interesting is that the very last moon of the year is going to be taking place on the it's a new moon, and it will be taking place on the galactic center at 27 degrees. So that's really interesting because it kind of finishes off the year in quite a spectacular fashion. So yeah, everything's been kind of thrown out of sync, and it really does kind of epitomise that Uranian and Aquarian energy we are beginning to live in and move deeper into. Virgo is the second earth sign of the zodiac, but it is very different from both its fellow earth signs that are much more solid and down to earth in their approach to life. Virgo has two separate rulers, which means there can be a predominance of one energy over the other, similar to Aquarius, who are ruled by both Saturn and Uranus. The original ruler of Virgo is Mercury, who also rules over Gemini, the first air sign, and is the energy which gives Virgo its need for preciseness, accuracy, and of course the ideal of perfectionism. The second energy allocated to Virgo during the 70s upon its discovery is Chiron, which after having been found brought a whole new resurgence of what were called New Age therapies. Some of them were indeed new, such as chiropractic, named after the centaur Chiron himself, the wounded healer, who could heal everyone else but never heal himself. Others of these therapies, such as aromatherapy and herbalism, can be traced back to ancient India, so they're not so much new as a kind of resurgence of them, a reawakening. The new moon is a time of planting a seed in the fertile darkness of the Divine Mother Moon's womb. In Virgo, we are planting it collectively in the 6th house of satisfaction through the service we give to others. This includes our type of employment and where we use that Mercury analytical mind. As the 6th house also has a connection with Chiron, it also rules over our health choices, diet, hygiene, ways to stay fit and healthy, which also includes the link between our body and our mind. This is also why more people are turning to meditation and other forms of deeper relaxation, breath work in general, and ways to find their inner spiritual connection, as Virgo is opposite Pisces and the 12th house energy. Also known in its higher vibration as the Christ consciousness or Buddha nature, it is our connection to Source, the divine within. Virgo in the 6th house energy always looks for ways to improve situations, refine them, make them more efficient by being very practical, yet at the same time equally logical. This new moon in Virgo, both our divine masculine and divine feminine are in some very potent, powerful, intense transits, as I said earlier, even though both of them are only being affected by 2 actual planets, both of which are outer planets and always have bigger generational changes. So it's the outer planets that have the bigger effect on us overall on a generational scale. But we feel them more deeply when they're connected to our personal inner planets. So the first planet I'm going to mention is Neptune, retrograde at 21 degrees 59 minutes, having just come off the 22 degree mark. Neptune is opposite both the Sun and Moon, which began with the Sun on the 4th of September. The Moon joined him later in the evening on the 6th. As this is 2 of our personal inner planets involved here, we will feel the depth of this opposition and experience it as a sense of tiredness, lethargy, possibly feeling like just giving in or giving up. There can be a feeling of overwhelm with this transit, which occurs once every year, and will be exact at 22 degrees 47 on the 14th of September. So that's still coming up. We still haven't felt the full sense of that confusion and kind of sense of loss within it all. There could also be a strong sense of confusion, cloudiness and fog around our work environment, the service we provide for others via the time and energy we put into what we do and who we trust when it comes to certain elements of our health and body. We could also experience many levels of deception around these subjects, with Virgo, Pisces and Neptune all being related to illness and medicine. Particularly for Neptune, those that are too small to detect. Compounding all this is Mars at 24 degrees 51 in Virgo. So that's another personal planet as well that is joining this Neptune energy, who has just on the 2nd of September had an exact opposition with Neptune, which is why there is so much confusion around at this time. Like I was saying, so much confusion, so much uncertainty, levels of deception and not knowing what's real, what isn't real. It's all very, very confusing, very hazy, very confusing time. So so he's had his exact opposition with Neptune, and that was at 22 degrees and 6 minutes, which has been activating all that above energy for the sun to really then highlight and the moon to really feel deeply. We also need to be aware of feelings of being a victim within all this, which is very Piscean, Neptunian type of energy. And not having control of our own lives, as well as looking for a saviour figure to come and rescue us, or in the least to follow blindly down the path to salvation. In Pisces, Neptune has slowly been eroding away at our reality, particularly as this sextile, together with Pluto, is a long ongoing cycle, which is helping to dissolve the power structures and all the institutions that have been created around us, many of which have reached untouchable and unquestionable status. However, the quicker these things fall apart, the more likely we are to begin to lose a grip on what we have always known as our sense of security and stability. Neptune is being charged up by both Mars and the Sun, which when coming through on a higher octave is asking us to look beyond the 3D senses of our perceived reality and instead to go within and experience the shift of consciousness from a place of trusting our own inner knowing or internal world through our divine source connection, the perfection and vitality of the eternal flame that in essence we truly are. We may also find ourselves at this time having flashes of sudden inspiration to do things differently, in a way that goes beyond the accepted or expected. We may, for instance, suddenly walk away from work situations that have long been a part of who we believe ourselves to be. This could come as a shock to those around us, our colleagues, bosses, or even to ourselves. With Uranus at 14 degrees 39 minutes in Taurus, he is only 1 degree or 1 minute away from an exact trine with the Sun and the Moon as they become conjunct, meaning anything out of character is possible. So there could be these kind of swings of energies as well, with this kind of Neptune confusion and then the kind of Uranus kind of changing everything, kicking in as well. So that could cause even more confusion because Uranus wants to force us to change and break free of things that are constricting us and stopping us from changing and experiencing things in a new way that we have yet to understand even. So again, that confusion between the Neptune and the Uranus energy could also come into play. This could also have an effect on our medical and health systems and all those people directly involved with service to others. Big change and revolutionary energy, as well as all the confusion from Neptune, will be given an extra boost as the Sun and Mars become conjunct on the 9th of September and continue to do so right through until the 6th of November. The Sun and Uranus will end their connection on the 16th. And when I saw that kind of Sun and Mars conjunction going right the way from the 9th all the way up to the 6th of November, it's kind of like, it's big energy, and it's really going to kind of bring some massive changes and some real kind of fire and passion and action and dynamic energy into doing things and making things happen, and not just kind of sitting back and allowing ourselves to just be kind of told how we should or shouldn't do things. This is an energy of kind of standing up and questioning. So the Sun and Uranus will end their connection on the 16th, and this whole period of time from the 26th of August onward will see a rise in chaos, with the need to break out and break free being a dominant, determined, action-packed energy up until early November, which could also include volatility within the financial, housing, work and health sectors. As Uranus shakes up all that Taurus holds as secure, he will continue to re-evaluate where we have already been, bringing more instability to us all. Which is his job, really. That's the thing that Uranus does. He brings instability because he wants to bring in that change. He's kind of working on a level of something else is better. So therefore you have to kind of like sift through everything and get rid of what's no longer working, what's no longer viable. And that in Taurus is going to cause a lot of insecurity, a lot of structure that we know and have had in our lives as a solid, definite, is kind of going to be shifted out. So apart from this intensity, one of the other biggest energies affecting us all at this time, especially if you have anything at the 0-10 degrees area natally in your chart for Gemini, is the North Node at 5 degrees 40 minutes conjunct Black Moon Lilith at 5 degrees 36 minutes. Also opposing the South Node at 5 degrees 40 in Sagittarius. The North Node and Black Moon Lilith are both points of the moon. The nodes are the points where the moon crosses over the ecliptic of the sun's path, both in the north and the south, which changes sign every 18 months. So every 18 months the South Node and the North Node will shift into the sign behind them, because they always work in reverse. So they go backwards, a bit like the giant cosmic clock that kind of goes backwards as well. So these nodes are known as the head and tail of the dragon. I just say that's why we're moving out of Pisces and into Aquarius, because it's all back. So again, these nodes are known as the head and tail of the dragon. Rahu being the head and Ketu the tail. So the North Node is Rahu and the South Node is Ketu. And in Vedic astrology, eclipses always, in Vedic astrology, and eclipses always happen when the sun or moon are close to them, which is probably where the idea of them being eaten by a dragon comes from, and also why the dragon is so popular a symbol in the East. Another energy connecting with the North Node and Black Moon Lilith is that of Ceres, also known in Roman mythology as Demeter. So Ceres or Demeter is the goddess of agriculture and food, and she's also quite strongly connected to Virgo as well, which I haven't actually written down in this report, but she is strongly connected to the Virgo energy of harvest. Like, she's always depicted with a bundle of kind of cereal or corn or wheat or whatever kind of being held or carried, or as a kind of sign of her connection to the Virgo energy, but also to the earth energy as well. And because, as a side note, because Ceres has just come out of Taurus, and which is also connected to the earth and food and agriculture, she has just connected with the North Node and Black Moon Lilith as well. And if you know anything about what's going on out there in the world at this time, there are kind of very strong probabilities and likelihoods that food is going to become a lot more scarce, and people are out there saying now is the time to kind of try and gather as much food as you can for possibly some difficult times over these coming months because of this energy as well. So Black Moon Lilith is the point of the moon when she is furthest away from the earth, the hidden, unknown and dark side of the moon. The name Lilith means screech owl or night hag, which gives some indication of her shadow nature, and I did actually put out a small video on this as well, so if you've not watched that, and if you are interested in finding out more about this Black Moon Lilith energy that we are in right now, and it's going to become really strong and really powerful, and last again right up until October, possibly the end of October, early November, then I suggest you go and watch that video as well, where I go more kind of in depth as to the Black Moon Lilith energy. So she's known as the Lilith literally means screech owl or night hag, which gives some indication of her shadow nature, which also corresponds to the repressed, oppressed, denied female energy, whether we be of either gender, as the feminine has been denied within the masculine, just as buried and ignored as has also been done and continues being done within the female psyche. The phrase hell hath no fury like a woman scorned keeps coming up into my mind, as this energy is going to be eruptive, furious, determined and full of righteous karmic rage, particularly around the subject of abuse to children in whichever form that takes. It's also going to affect our schools as well, and what is taking place at this time is all very Black Moon Lilith energy when it comes to our schools and children in general, and what is trying to be forced upon them is going to bring this energy out even more. You're going to see mothers in particular, and fathers as well, but particularly mothers, because the mothers give birth, they have that connection, that emotional connection. The being grows inside of us. We have fed it, we've kept it alive, it is part of us, even though we have to at some point let go. But until that child is old enough, and that is not the decision that can be made by anybody else really, so you're going to see a big uprising. I actually listened recently to a video where somebody said it is the hill that people are willing to die on, and I think that's very true when it comes to the children. And I also remember saying something about this in one of my previous full moon, new moon videos. I can't remember which one it was, but at the very end of it, I believe I was saying it's about the children. So, and that was a while back, so I can't remember which one, but it is about the children. So the North Node and Black Moon Lilith become conjunct exact at 5 degrees 39 minutes, after about 9 hours after this new moon has taken place, adding a whole extra dimension of emotional angst, fear and distorted expression. In the sign of Gemini, this will present itself as both the North Node and Black Moon Lilith trine Mercury at 10 degrees 22 in Libra, and Saturn in Aquarius at 7 degrees 48 minutes, as an outpouring of a need for expression of this repressed righteous anger and communication of those deeper repressed emotions that has been building for some time now. Again, we have to remember that Gemini rules communication and the media, so look to the media to see what is going on, but don't necessarily trust what you're hearing as well. And remember as well, there are many alternative sources out there now who are probably much more clued in than the establishment media that wants to give you a certain story and a certain way of understanding how things are, which has nothing to do with what actually is. So, and this again is going to cause more confusion, and it's going to cause more angst, and more anger and more fury. The more we find out the truth about things and what's been hidden from us and what's deliberately been done, people are going to rise up, and it is going to be a big outpouring of expressional fury. The potency of this is added to by the fact that all these energies together, so that's Black Moon, Lilith, the North Node, Mercury and Saturn, are all trine at this time as well, creating an air trine, which air, again, communication, expression through communication, outpouring, the voice, media, all come under that domain of the air energy. Data, information. So I spoke about the grand air trine during last month's second full moon in Aquarius, which has now been replaced by Mercury instead of Venus. So previously we had Venus at that point of Libra, which was making the grand air trine at that time, but now Mercury has moved into Libra and has taken over from Venus. So it's bringing in that powerful communicative media, data and information driven frequency, which could also be classed at this time as a frenzy. So what we have here is the Saturn energy of karmic retribution, as Saturn is the lord of all actions, have reactions and consequences, which teaches us mastery over our own destiny once we learn to understand the lessons. Sitting in the collective humanitarian 11th house, trine the mercurial swift thinking, responsive, acting in our individual best interests, Gemini planet, occupying the 7th house in the sign of needing to create harmony, balance and peace through resolutions. Both of these trine to the powerful conjunction of a date with our destiny and the generational suppressed anger of the raw feminine in the 3rd house of logic, wanting to make sense of things and knowing there is two sides to every story, duality or binary systems being found everywhere in nature, including our brains. This is the restoration of the feminine energy taking back her rightful place, not as a dominant or superior energy, but as a balanced equal whose role in our everyday society needs to be recognised and valued for its differences and diverse qualities. The fact that the new moon has just occurred in the sign of the only female represented in the 12 signs of the zodiac, which would not be taking place if we had not had the blue moon in Aquarius, also adds yet another level of the universe moving in mysterious ways when it comes to the cosmic clock. What I'm feeling from this and how it's been explained to me is this is a gateway, as the South Node is also sextile Mercury, as well as Saturn. While the South Node in Sagittarius opposes the North Node and Black Moon Lilith, this is a powerful dark archetypal energy that is rising up all around the world at this time and within ourselves individually. The North Node is our point of direction, where we are karmically heading, and the South Node is what we need to leave behind. Again, it's that dragon tail of Rahu and Ketu, or that dragon body, the head and the tail. The tail is what we need to leave behind, what we no longer need in order to move ahead. At this particular time, we are also experiencing more kite energy, a pattern that is created when there is a grand trine, as well as another planet or energy in a double sextile, meaning it's being connected from both sides interestingly, the energy that is the head of this kite is the South Node, which is connecting with Mercury in Libra and Saturn in Aquarius. This is highlighting yet again another fated karmic date with destiny, as a kite pattern is showing this to us by its very symbolism. The kite is known as a pattern of destiny, a kite of destiny, something that is going to happen. You can't escape it. So the sextiles with the Saturn and Mercury energy is supporting the South Node. Mercury is encouraging communication and conversations about what we need to do to bring justice, fairness and righting the wrongs and injustices that are becoming exposed during this time. Especially as Mercury is also conjunct the raw male creation god of humanity, of Make at 06 degrees 49 in Libra, who just so happens to be in an ongoing trine with Saturn and is said to be a higher octave of that longer known, more establishment rules and regulations bound planet that we are seeing going into overdrive at this time. Make is adding an extra dimension to this karmic kite pattern, as he's also trine to the conjunction with the North Node and Black Moon Lilith. And what I feel from this is a deepening of the realization that we are conscious awareness in a physical form, and of stepping into our power, voicing our inner need for change that has been growing for a while now, through the sense of imbalance and disharmony. Not only within our own physical bodies, but also from within the planet we inhabit herself. As above, so below, as within, so without. We are a symptom of this collective sickness, which Black Moon Lilith is expressing at this time as righteous rage, as she helps us to release centuries of conditioned, buried, generational ideas of shoulds and shouldn'ts, especially around the behaviour of the feminine. Because the feminine energy has been so suppressed. She will be bringing to the surface the suppressed energy of how the female psyche has been manipulated, downtrodden, oppressed, discarded, turned into a commodity, until she herself took on board the masculine traits in order to survive and thrive in a very patriarchal, non-emotional, business-run world. One example of this is the takeover of the mystery and naturalness of childbirth, which once was a female domain, but now is filled with male gynecologists who have very little, if any, intuitive understanding of a female body due to their being of the opposite gender. These gynecologists have now managed to turn everything into a mechanical function, like a giant conveyor belt system, as that is how their brains relate to the world. Scarily, things could get even worse, with the complete emotional removal of the safety, comfort, security and birth through the mother, and babies instead being born in chemical pods. This is a potential future, and one the controllers are moving towards seeing happen, which is the lower vibration of Saturn in Aquarius and the hive mind. The South Node is also making its own interesting conjunction at this time with an energy known as the vertex. At the time, it has just passed over the South Node. So the vertex has literally just passed over the South Node and is sitting at 11 degrees 39 minutes in Sagittarius, the sign of truth-seeking, lover of freedom, and an open, happy-go-lucky philosophical belief in life, which in its lower stuck energy becomes a closed, limited, dogmatic way of life, which is the collective energy we need to free ourselves from in order to allow this greater understanding of a universal truth to be revealed. The vertex energy is in itself known as Destiny's Gateway. Again, more destiny energy with the kite pattern that's forming, and with this vertex having just gone over the South Node as well, which is where this gateway energy is coming in for me, which is giving us the ability to, just like a kite, to let the past go, release it, and let it fly away. What I'm also getting here is the subtle energies in the background of the lesser known vibrational frequencies of Black Moon Lilith, Make, Humia, Clarico and Eris are all part of the evolutionary change that is coming in as we move further into this new Aquarian age, and we become more in tune with these higher octave energies that are going to become much more integrated into our psyches on a personal level. So the more we connect with these energies, the more we relate to them, the more we find out about them, because we don't really know that much about them, and we've only recently discovered them out there and given them names and identities and kind of said this is what they mean and this is the energy vibration that they are. So the more we move forward into this Aquarian age, which is really going to kind of kick in when Pluto leaves Capricorn and moves into Aquarius, which happens around about 2024. The more we're going to kind of recognize these energies as being, as we ourselves kind of move more into higher frequencies, we are going to connect with the higher frequencies as well. So the denser planets that have been kind of very much a part of our environment, shall we say, are going to kind of be connected as well to these higher vibrational energies, and they will kind of be more connected in and tuned in with our astrology. So I have written about where I believe these Virgo archetypes originate from, as I went on a search to find where the scales of Libra came from, and came across the mythology of the goddess Astrea, known as the Star Maiden or the Star Goddess. And this is just a kind of small part that I've taken from one of the other readings that I have done. So basically the idea of Virgo being always been kind of seen as the Virgin didn't really sit well with me, and also I wanted to know where these scales came from. What were they about? Why did they suddenly appear, the only inanimate object in the whole of the zodiac? So what I discovered was that there used to be this goddess known as Astrea, who was the last immortal to live with humans on Earth, and she left due to the acts of brutality as well as the wicked, depraved behaviour of humanity, which kind of sounds familiar at this time. The goddess Astrea is also often shown as a woman with wings, so she has a kind of angelic presence, who carries with her both the torch, which is a symbol of enlightenment, and which at that time I was also being told has kind of morphed into the hermit energy of the Virgo card in tarot. It's kind of symbolically known as the hermit card is the Virgo energy. And interestingly, the hermit always carries a lantern, so I kind of feel as though that's the connection there as well. But on the other hand, she carries a set of scales, which I believe has also become the Libra energy. So the word Virgo is from the Latin, and it means to be self-contained, which today we would call self-sufficient, which is also an interesting term in itself, as we normally imagine self-sufficient to mean living off the land and surviving on the fruits of one's labour, reaping of the harvest of what you've sown, as Virgo is the time of year when the harvesting of the earth's cornucopia is gathered in. But it's also about that service to others, that abundance that we give to others of ourselves. Talking of which, we also have Venus at 25 degrees 34 minutes in Libra, conjunct the Hawaiian goddess of fertility, creativity and childbirth. Humia at 27 degrees in mythology, at 27 degrees, sorry, In mythology, Humia had the ability to regenerate from an old goddess back to a beautiful young one, which is a representation of the recreation energy we are ourselves in at this time, through the birthing of this new world that we are moving into. So both Venus and Humia have just gone through beautiful, powerful trines with the magnifying energy of Jupiter at 24 degrees 57 minutes, retrograde in Aquarius, which continues through this new moon in Virgo. Jupiter is adding an inspiring, optimistic, lighter and more joyful outlook with some good fortune and a belief that anything is possible, while also expanding on the love and beauty from Venus, along with the strength of Humia, who is coming in on a higher vibration, again that higher vibrational energy, to bring the harmony, balance, fairness and justice back to all the children of Mother Earth that is so desperately needed at the time of this transitioning energy. This trio are allowing us to rise above the despondency we may be feeling from the Neptune alignments and helping us to keep our spirits raised. So the Jupiter, Venus and Humia energy is kind of bringing us back up, as this kind of Neptune energy will be kind of making us feel less than in many ways. This Jupiter energy kind of reminds us that there is more, that there is always more, and that we are part of the bigger picture, part of the bigger expression of life itself, with the Humia and the Venus energy. So the day before the new moon in Virgo, Mars will have become trine exact with Pluto at 24 degrees 31 minutes, while he's also creating a quincunx with Eris in Aries at 24 degrees 36 retrograde. This is going to stir up a lot of frustration. Mars, the god of action, the masculine warrior, is not feeling comfortable with the way things are playing out in the practical world of his 3D life. Eris, the feisty goddess of discord and the female warrioress, is also feeling a sense of unease, of things not sitting well, especially as she continues to square with Pluto, the planet of endings, transformational power struggles, and there is only 5 minutes difference between her, Pluto and Mars. As if this wasn't enough, the universe is really pushing us, as Mars also happens to be in a quincunx with Jupiter, adding that extra level of exaggerated discomfort, but at the same time asking us to seek out what is true. As Jupiter is in the sign of humanitarianism and the Aquarian energy of the rebel, the maverick, and the need to express ourselves as individuals while recognizing the collective is created through diversity, we need to retain our integrity whilst offering our services to others. This is an energy of disruption of the status quo, and it is pointing in the direction of Mars and the Virgo energy, implying we will see a lot of anger, frustration, rage and outbreaks of physical shows of these emotions aimed at established institutions, particularly those involving our work, our health, or both. Especially if both of these come as a single package for you. You may either find yourself being directly involved or you will be on the receiving end. And as Eris is in headstrong Aries, she will act first and then worry about the consequences after. Which, as I have said previously, don't be surprised if the end result is questioning our service to others. Are we actually helping, or are we acting in a thuggish, bullying fashion to achieve a desired result? Eris in Aries is demanding we act from a place of sovereignty and of the self, and not force our opinion on others. She is saying, stand up, be brave, find your inner courage and decide which side of the battle line you are on. But make no mistake, this is a battle for humanity we are in. The quincunx to Mars and the square to Pluto in Capricorn, though, may make it feel strange or awkward to make this decision, as we are still so used to being subservient to those in higher positions of power, who believe they can still control and manipulate us, but those times are changing. So be prepared for a breakdown within all the established constitutions of power that are no longer serving we the people. This is eruptive, intense energy that is only going to become more so as the Sun joins this picture on the 9th, when we will begin to conjunct Mars while still being in a trine with Uranus and an opposition with Neptune. He will start to trine with Pluto while also being in a quincunx with Eris. The moon, which represents the soul, our individual and collective emotions, will also have gone through this same patterning earlier on as she moved away from the sun. We will all have felt all of this earlier, but the moon passes much more quickly. So after the new moon, after the sun and the moon have come together, the moon will then move forward a lot quicker than the sun. So after the new moon, the sun will then reactivate and trigger these fleeting messages from the moon and our emotional responses. The sun will keep us aware of them for a longer period of time, particularly if they are outer, slower moving planets that are being connected with. It is when the sun brings those messages out of the subconscious depths that they have been planted in that we will get to act upon them individually, depending on personal houses and placements of our planets. Collectively, this is where our focus of emotions helps to shift the energetic frequencies, both for ill or good, fear or love. So although it may all feel chaotic, intense and crazy, we have to remember this new moon in Virgo is helping to change, refine, improve and perfect, while also making more efficient the working class system. It's kind of breaking through that whole idea of working class system in general, really. And we are going to see massive changes occurring within this whole field. So Mars will be moving into the sign of Libra on the 16th of September. As he does so, he will be crossing over the axis Monday, meaning events will become even bigger on the world stage. He's closely followed by the Sun on the 22nd, heralding the autumn equinox. As he does so, he is creating a grand air trine with Saturn in Aquarius, and both Black Moon Lilith still conjunct in Gemini. So both Black Moon Lilith and the North Node still conjunct in Gemini. Their story is far from over, as they are also helping to create the kite pattern once again. Now though, they are sextile Chiron, who is also sextile Saturn, meaning Chiron just happens to be the head point of this kite. So that's where the focus of attention is going to be. It's going to be focusing very much on Chiron's energy. Mars has already made his connections with this energy, being 5 degrees ahead of the Sun. Now the Sun is moving into the space that Mars has just occupied, adding his extra spotlight, intensity and drive to the Libra 7th house energy. I will talk more on this at the time of the Pisces full moon coming up on the 21st of September, because that's more a later energy that we will be feeling. But it is part of everything that is going on right now. So as the new moon in Virgo takes place, Mercury, one of the rulers of Virgo, has just entered his shadow period of 10 degrees 9 minutes on the 6th, getting ready to retrograde at the end of Libra at 25 degrees 28 minutes on the 27th. At this time, however, he is in an opposition with Chiron at 11 degrees 47, who is the other ruler of Virgo. as well as a trine with Saturn in Aquarius. Chiron is also quincunx both the Sun and the new moon. So I'm going to read this again. So Mercury is trining Saturn in Aquarius. Right, Chiron is quincunx both the Sun and the Moon, which is really emphasizing both aspects of the Virgo energy. So Chiron is a reflection of the deep inner wounding that we may not even be aware of that needs healing. And in a sextile with Saturn, it is all about old wounding. Chiron in Aries is helping us to understand the trigger points to what we need that will stem back to our very early years or the carrying of generational wounds. So it's all about our needs, really, because Aries is all about need. It kind of represents the baby of the zodiac, and when we are babies we can't voice what we need. We have to kind of rely on other people's needs, and if our needs aren't met, then it can kind of like form emotional trauma from a very early age. So this is what Chiron is there to heal at this time. So Chiron in Aries is helping us to understand those trigger points of what we need that will stem back, of carrying our generational wounds, particularly around the masculine, as Aries is a masculine fire sign and Saturn represents the older male role model or father figure. Aries also represents our ego, which is created during those early years and wants to stay in control as we get older, mainly by just wanting to protect us from the outside world of hurt, pain and more wounding. The ego, though, is very similar to the monkey mind of Mercury that chatters away constantly in our head, often reinforcing lower vibrational thoughts or frequencies, patterns, which also stem from the beliefs of our original woundings, which is like a loop reaction. So it's kind of like whatever we're thinking about on that lower vibrational energy, whatever we're kind of focusing on, that voice in our head that keeps saying that we're not good enough, we're not this, we're not that, we should be better, we should be this, we should be that. That's the kind of Mercury monkey mind, but it's also connected to these woundings that we have as well. And it just keeps that loop kind of going within us. For me, it kind of comes through a bit like the Eight of Swords energy, where we're kind of just caught up in it. We don't know how to get out of it, when actually all we have to do is kind of break free from it. And I know that's an easy thing to say, it's all we have to do, but in many ways, first of all, we have to recognize that that is where we are at, that's what's happening to us. There is a pattern that we are creating in our lives because of these constant reminders. So in Libra, Mercury is going to want to express, communicate and share through our personal relationships the situations and experiences Chiron is bringing to the surface. Those painful old traumas that we are still carrying are coming back into our awareness, either directly or energetically. This energy will move backwards and forwards between these two, looking to be healed, so we can experience a sense of balance, inner healing, peace within ourselves, and a renewal of energy. So that is like that loop, it's that energy moving backwards and forwards from the Mercury energy of the kind of chattering mind back to the Chiron energy of like, this is what needs to be healed. But like I said, first of all, we need to recognize it. And it is also because it is between Libra and Aries, so it is also about our relationships. It could be about our early relationships that are affecting our relationships now in the present as well. So this energy will move backwards and forwards between these two, looking to be healed, so we can experience a sense of balance, inner healing, peace within ourselves, and a renewal of energy and direction. So when we clear something out, when we get rid of an old stagnant energy, it takes that energy out of our system and it allows new energy to come in to kind of fill that gap, if you like. It's like it gives fresh energy into our lives, into our bodies, into our minds, into our hearts. It allows things to change and shift, and we're no longer coming from that same wounding pattern. So this is going to be helped along by the higher octave energy of Saturn, which is Make, who continues to trine Old Father Time and is also now conjunct Mercury. So that higher octave energy, again, that higher masculine, because Make is the fertility god, and he was of Polynesia, and he was said to have been the one who created humans as well, very interestingly. So he's like and it's interesting because he's at the very beginning of the Libra energy, and at the other end of the Libra energy we have Humia. So the two of these creational goddesses, god energies, goddess energy, masculine and the feminine, which is very interesting as well, in the sign of Libra, which is all about our personal relationships. Very interesting kind of underlying energy of what we're having to kind of clear out and sort through at this time. But it's not so obvious. So Make is said to be the higher consciousness of Saturn, expressed in the 5D realm, whereas Saturn represents rules, laws, restrictions, politics, all forms of authority and control within our physical reality. Make is said to be the natural order of divine laws and the balance that coexists within the universal, integral order of all creation. Make is the higher vibrational octave of Saturn and is awakening us to the divine order throughout the cosmos. Make is coming into our consciousness at a time when we need to break free and break out from the Saturn matrix that has been created around us and return to the flow and rhythm of the one source of all love that we have always been a part of. During this whole period of time, Make and Chiron will be travelling through the sky together. And at the time that Chiron stations direct, they will both be in the 0-8 degrees of Aries and Libra. And that little insert there is taken from my second full moon in Aquarius read. So the Sabian symbol for this 14 degrees of Virgo is an aristocratic family tree. And the keynote is a deep reliance upon the ancestral roots of individual character. So stressed here is the fact that the power available to any man, woman, in time of crises and decision has very deep roots in the past, whether the past of physical ancestry or the past outlined by a series of previous embodiments. Again, that can be the Chiron energy as well, that helps to clear out past incarnations, reincarnational energy. Conditioned by some dominant purpose and by the many-phased development of a particular type of complex character. True spontaneity and creativity are always based on a structured sequence of antecedents, if they are at all genuinely spiritual, i.e., if they are able to meet a collective need. Only the actions that are necessary, even if only in the long run, for meeting such a need can actually be called spiritual. And that kind of sums up that kind of Chiron, Aries, Saturn kind of energy in many ways, which is really interesting. I haven't actually read this. This is the first time I've read this. So this fourth stage symbol strange as it may seem to many people, especially young people of our day, suggests a technique which at critical times must be used. It characterises the means for true success. One returns to the roots in order to produce the flowering of personality. If this flower is to bring forth a living seed, root power is essential to seed achievement. Which is a very interesting concept. Like I said, I've only just read that myself, but it kind of fits in as well with this Virgo energy of the new moon, of planting a seed, but also kind of clearing out that old energy that is no longer helping to bring that new energy in. It's kind of how it feels to me, but also recognizing that there is value within the old as well. So that is where I'm going to leave the Virgo new moon read. I am going to quickly pull a divine feminine energy card for this new moon energy and see what this is all about at this time. I'm actually going to take this one here because it's turned around. Oh, brilliant. Lilith. Lilith. Very interesting, very powerful. The first woman. I am the voice of my body and soul. I choose the life that I desire to live. So let's see what the Lilith energy wants to say at this time. Where are we? Lilith, 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 Lilith. 142. Here we go. So, who she is. Put my glasses on my head because I can't read. Lilith embodies our sovereignty to declare our desires and do what must be done in order to live them out. According to Jewish folklore, Lilith was Adam's first wife. She was created from the same earth as Adam, so when he expected her to be subservient to him, she refused. Lilith explained to Adam that they were equal, made by God. So when Adam insisted again on her submission, Lilith uttered the divine names and flew away. Supposedly, Adam sent angels after her to force her to return, but she was with the archangel Samael, and she desired to remain with him. Ancient Jewish midrash, or retellings of biblical stories, portray Lilith as a demon. But contemporary feminist theologians like Judith Plasko have incorporated women's experience and women's voices into traditional texts with their own midrash. Plasko transforms the fearsome, vilified Lilith into a wise, empowered woman. Lilith embodies the emotional and spiritual aspects of our unconscious or unrealized desires, sensuality and unbridled sexuality. She is the energy of everything that is kind of taboo and our shadow side that we don't want to look at. She owns her body and soul completely. For many women, Lilith is an icon of freedom. Lilith is the first woman. She is the woman who refused to be dominated or defined by anyone or anything outside of her. So when your soul selects her card, it says Lilith asks what would happen if you left everything behind. She wonders what prevents you from getting to experience all that you desire. Is it you? Is it an idea of someone you have to be? Is it society's definition of what it means to be a woman? Lilith asks the questions that sometimes never fully reach the light of consciousness. Lilith is unclaimed. She is the ruler of her body and soul, and she reminds us that we are too. And not only that, We have a sacred obligation to be the body's fierce protector. If I were entirely equal to everyone else, to every man and every angel, like Samael, what would I choose from my life? If I see myself as worthy, as the first woman ever created by the divine, what more would I ask for? Am I living the life I desire? Am I actually fulfilled sexually in my current relationship? Are there aspects of my sexuality I haven't been able to face and voice? Lilith refused to settle. She answered all these questions within her and took action on the truth she uncovered. Lilith demanded that she meet with what she really desired. And she's here to demand that we all do the same. And the soul voice meditation is, what does the life I truly desire look like? Which is very interesting for the time that we are moving forward into. Because it is very much also about our ability to recognize how we create our own environment and our own life, our own world, which then makes up the collective. So the intention here is, I am the voice of my body and soul. I choose the life that I desire to live. Very interesting energy. And lastly, I'm going to pull a... Well, I forgot to do the Moonology cards as well. They're sitting over there, which is something I should have done before, at the very beginning of the reading. So we have the Virgo energy here, which is saying it's a time to give rather than receive. It's the service energy, service to others. Of course, we have the new moon, which is all about new energy, new start, new beginning, something, planting a seed for something. And lastly, we have the mutable moon energy, which is really saying that everything is up in the air. There is no definites. There's a lot of uncertainty. Again, that could also be to do with the Neptune energy that we are all feeling at this time. Neptune is also a mutable, or is also in a mutable sign of Pisces. So what do the light seekers want to say here, or the keepers of light? What's the message here from the keepers of light? So while I'm shuffling these, I would just say thank you very much to those of you who have come over and watched my video. I've also got my new moon tarot reading video up as well. If you haven't watched that one already, please could you go and do that. Also, thank you to those of you who have liked and subscribed and shared my videos. If you haven't done that either, could you please give me a thumbs up for my videos, as it really helps to get my messages out there. And subscribe to my channel as well, as I'm really wanting to grow it and get my messages kind of out there on a bigger scale as well. So I do appreciate you all for being here. And for listening to what I have to say in my intuitive astrological reads. I'm not sure, I think I'm going to take this one here. So we have Odin, psychic insight. Your third eye is open. See truth for what it is. Follow your intuition. Odin. Interesting. Psychic insight. Third eye again. Been talking about this third eye energy, and Uranus and Aquarius very much is third eye energy. It is about awakening that third eye. And it keeps kind of coming up in the readings as well, that third eye energy. Where am I? Forgot how the alphabet works. Ha, there we go. So Odin is the Norse all-father god. Who is revered to the present day. He is a powerful, all-seeing, all-knowing god. His twin flame is Freya, and like her, he has a raven totem. The story goes that he surrendered one of his eyes at a mystical spring called Mima, so that he could gain the wisdom of the ages. He is a strong but somewhat wild character, who helps us reawaken our natural psychic instincts and open our third eye so we can look beyond the physical senses and into the spiritual realms. He also helps us recognize that it's okay to have insights into what's happening next. After all, we are the creators of our path. Odin guards the runic alphabet too and works closely with signs, symbols and omens. So we're being encouraged to look beyond what our physical eyes are showing us. Go within, follow our intuition, our psychic visions. There will be signs and symbols from the light to tell you that you are on the right path. Be aware of winged beings gracing your path as a wink from Odin and the light keepers to say that they are honouring your work. It's also not a card that I've seen before. So that is what I'm going to finish on and say again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being here, and I hope the energy isn't too intense for you. I know for myself it has been really, really intense, and I feel like my head has been in a vice for the last few days, but hopefully we'll get through this, come out the other side, and I will see you again soon. Take care.